Nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. I'll be your host tonight, Harry. With me tonight is Rafa. Good evening.
Good evening, Harry.
See, everybody's got you got no Club America flag behind you still.
I'll probably be in next week when they play Cruz Azul, knock them off.
And then we got
Royce
Royce with the SAFC flag behind him. How are you with the sporting the USA? Or USA, no, the USA.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the U23 tournament, but it's been interesting so far.
Hey, 2-0. And then Danielle's making a return, guest, host. I'm not sure what to call you. I know you've hit the big time with Protagonist Soccer and enjoying what you're doing with them for that here. How are you?
I'm busy. I'm so busy. I'm like, this is probably the only night this week that I could have hopped on. So I'm glad it all worked out.
So, yes, you came out with some news today for Copa Tejas. If you want to go ahead and explain what Copa Tejas has now developed into, it's grown.
So we are a derby round robin in season. It's not a separate tournament. So it's based on head-to-head in season standings. And so we have been in the USL Championship representing San Antonio FC, Austin Bold, El Paso Locomotive, and RGV Toros. And all of their supporters groups have come together to award a trophy at the end of the season. Well, now that Austin FC has joined the MLS and we have 3 MLS teams here in I know, Royce, I'm not going to ask for comments on some of it, but now that they've joined, we have 3 Texas teams. So Steve and I we were talking about, hey, Steve and I just tend to just talk and kind of like, oh, what about this? What about that? And then things start to just happen and we're like, well, I'm sure they already have something. They already have a derby name. And we're like, we don't want to have any regrets. We don't want to have any regrets about not reaching out and contacting them. So 3 weeks, a month ago, I don't even know. I feel like I'm in this like time warp black hole. We just started talking to supporters groups with FC Dallas, Houston Dynamo, and Austin FC. And we've had multiple Zoom meetings and calls, and there's a whole Discord. I don't even know what I'm doing in there, but I'm in there typing away. And so it just kind of organically happened, and they're going to have their own Copa Tejas. So they're going to have their own bracket and their own ranking. And so the USL will have their own, and then MLS will have their own. And then Copa Tejas is kind of like that parent umbrella organization, but no one else is doing anything like this. No one else. Cascadia Cup has the MLS teams, but no one is embracing both leagues and doing a derby like this. And so only in Texas, biggest derbies, biggest everything.
I'm going to say the USL Cascadia Cup would be called third place or third from last.
Right.
Well,
right.
I think Tacoma has won that since Vancouver folded, Timbers folded.
Right.
Well, Timbers 2 is still there. Anyway.
No, they folded this year.
That's awesome news.
They're going to go to they're supposed to be going to the MLS U22 League, Reserve League, that was supposed to start this year, and I think it, COVID, so it's probably pushed, like all the big soccer news is probably to next year for that here. So, but yeah, so the Cascadia Cup at the USL level 5 years ago would have probably been awesome, but
not happening. So we're just going to come and take over the world. That's what we do.
There you go.
But we're excited because there's so much potential. There's so much possibility. There's so much learning too. I mean, Dallas's supporters groups have been around for a while, and there's just so much knowledge and information and things that they've gone through and been through. And I'm like, I want to tap into that. I want to learn that. And I've been able to talk with the representative for the Timbers Army about their Cascadia Cup. And so I'm learning more about supporters culture than I ever knew existed. And we've been able to talk to the folks at the ISC who it's sort of the governing, not quite governing body, but it's maybe a union for supporters groups. And so they've just been really supportive in coaching us and giving us tips and information, because it's a whole different USL and MLS, two whole different beasts. Harry tweets about that on a regular basis, I think. But
I expressed my concerns to you guys when the news came out. I was happy for it, but I won't lie, being USL and then seeing MLS on it, I wish there would have been a different wording than Division 1, Division 2. That's my only concern. That was the only thing that I didn't like about it. I like the idea, and like I said here, I think for Copa Tejas, I think it's awesome. I think as a fan of one of the clubs in USL, my worry is that the MLS clubs, because they get more starlight on them, more light on them, more media, more coverage, that it's going to overshadow what we've been building, for the last 2 years with the USL. But I know with you in charge, and Steve, your roots are here in San Antonio, so I do know that. But it's just, you've seen when MLS gets involved, and that's my only hesitancy for it. But like I said, I know the Surge, I know Las Verdes, great. I talk with Third Degree quite a bit, in the podcast, between them, fan wise and supporter group wise, I think it's awesome. Just to me, when you bring MLS into it, it brings in a giant elephant.
so there's a couple things that we did strategically. Number one, Steve and I will hash things out and really think through things and talk through things analytically. So we had a lot of care and deliberation before we made any move. And at any point we were kind of ready to say, nope, this is not the direction we want to go, and this doesn't align with the beliefs of what Copa Tejas is, what our brand is, and our integrity. We still are going to plan on being involved in some of the decision-making process, not all of it. There's definitely different areas and different breakdowns, and there's going to be hours of conversation of where all of that lies. And we literally just announced it because, obviously season schedules are coming out, and that's all everyone's going to talk about. So we wanted to make sure we were ahead of that. And so it's just the announcement. There's still a lot of development. One big thing, especially having MLS, we need to be a little more sensitive to. We can't just say the MLS teams, because they're going to come in, and I'm sure we're going to get like some sort of cease and desist, and you can't use our name to promote your trophy. So we don't have what the name is going to be, or the differentiation. Division 1 and Division 2 is kind of the only way that we've gone right now to manage that, and just to tiptoe on our tightrope. I don't need to get Harry, I get in trouble for so much, and I'm sure I'm going to tweet something.
And I don't mean to get you in trouble. But
that's okay. But that's part of the reason why. So number one, the name Copa Tejas is already trademarked. So right. Steve and I manage that, so no one can use it. No one can monetize it without our permission. So from day one, we saw what happened with Cascadia Cup. We did not want. I don't want to have a legal battle over something that's supposed to be about tailgating and beer and fun and friendly rivalries. So that's already removed that. And when you're talking money, that's all anyone cares about. So now that we've kind of removed that, And we made sure that we're working with the supporters groups.
Mhm.
So we're not working with front offices and negotiating with them. We're not working with MLS. This is all supporters driven. And as we saw today, it's the supporters groups that were tweeting it. It's the supporters groups that are designing stuff. They're going to have their voice on, kind of how they brand themselves and package it and what it looks like. And I'm sure they're going to have some fun, different things that they're going to want to do. And I know one of the things they talk about is charity. So I know there's going to be a charity aspect to it. And so giving back, what that looks like, again, early conversations.
Well, I know there's a lot of smart brains and backgrounds in, I know like in Las Verdes, I know in the Surge, I don't know that much with the Dallas, but I know I've started interacting with them and they're pretty good. Danielle's got to go here fairly quickly here, but Rafa, Royce, any questions you guys have?
Can I give a quick suggestion? So it's Copa Tejas for USL. Can we have Copa Tejas, but instead of like a cup, do a golden triangle, because you have, Austin, Dallas, Houston. That's the golden triangle.
Yes.
So do a golden triangle as a trophy. Just suggestion.
We have the hashtag in the Discord channel. I will make sure that I put that in there. No, but I like it. People are just throwing like ideas left and right, and that's where the best things come from. Is our fans and supporters and people like you who are open to the dialogue and just sharing the information. So we're very excited about that. So my goal and what I'm working towards every single minute I'm thinking about Copa Tejas is I ultimately want to get a women's team involved. And so I know UWS now has that elite level that's going to be the official Division II women's, approved by the USSF, US Soccer. And so I would love to bring that in. I would love to bring in USL women. So if all of our Copa Tejas USL championship teams, it'd be awesome to have it represented. And then, so my long-term goal, and I'm also going to try to figure out how to do this. We're going to bring NWSL in, but one of the cool things that I'm going to throw this little tantalizing tidbit out there is the coolest part about this is I would love to see, the winners, USL and MLS, do something in a preseason in their Copita next year. But what would be really cool too is to do some sort of a supporter shield where we can take all of the teams, line them up, and it's just one big ranking. And so your USL teams can get their revenge, and they can truly have that competition to see who is the best in Texas. In this way, I can bring the dash in, and we can have, women's, men's, and Division I and Division II, and see out of your regular season record based on your average, points and all of that. Smarter people, I can guarantee I'm gonna have tweets with people telling me the math for it. I'm not that person, but how cool would that be to truly see USL versus MLS not in a Lamar Hunt Open Cup? There's just so many opportunities and possibilities that we couldn't pass this up.
And I think you're seeing the door open this year, even in a COVID year, with the La Copitita or whatever that it is. I have to think that's possibly going to get expanded, or I'm hoping that it'll get expanded in the future. But I said 10, 15 minutes. We're at about 14 minutes. So,
any last questions? Rafa hasn't had his turn.
I'm excited. It's going to be fun. I can see how the excitement is going to be winning those trophies this year. So San Antonio better bring her A game.
Right. I'm representing all of Copa Tejas now, all 7 cities.
You can say San Antonio is your home. That's fine.
I live in San Antonio, and I would love to be in a stadium and see them win and lift the trophy. So hopefully we have the team to do that. And the whispers and the little clips I'm seeing, it looks good, and I'm excited. I'm going to let you guys hash that out. I'm sure you've got, preseason.
We're moving on to Rafa's high school final rankings, which I'm sure is going to burn down the house here.
Okay, so me, Harry, and Royce lift the trophy first before everybody else if we do win.
Yeah. Just rush the field. And it's all good.
Danielle's paying for bail. That you just heard that.
There will be the Copa Tejas Bail Fund. That's what the charity is. The
Instead of a
Tejas Bail
GoFundMe,
Fund.
it's a hey, we have a bail fund.
All right, guys, have fun. I miss seeing you and talking soccer. Enjoy.
Hey, but we are going to have to follow up on the UWS NISA fallout here, and I'm sure you and Dan with Protagonist Soccer may have that. But that is a developing story. We'll just leave it at that and let you get out the door.
I will just say, not surprised. Not surprised. All right, bye, guys.
See you guys later.
Bye, Danielle.
All right, Rafa. Now you're the star of the show here, but I am excited for Copa Tejas. Like I said here, I do think it is exciting that you're going to have a Division I and a Division II, and I understand trying to be protective of saying league names and stuff like that here. I still do, just when you come to that league above us, that there's been many cases where things start out grassroots and develop elsewhere. We'll just leave it at that. But I know Danielle and Steve will do their best, and I know it is supporter driven. Just speaking with Los Verdes and the Surge,
the Guardians, and the Teshin Army.
Yeah. So and there's I think 7 or no, there's 2 for Los Verdes and Anthem for Austin.
Right.
Dallas Beer Gardens, and I forget who the other one.
The Beer Gardeners and the Guardian, or the Beer Guardians, and then
and then Houston I think had 3 of them.
Army. Yeah, Teshin Army, like black and orange, and
then the Surge.
When I was there, it was just Teshin Army, but that was when they first started in 2012.
So, Rafa, we're going to start out. We're going to start with we're going to do the 4A boys. So this is kind of a combination of the TAPS, which their season's over, and then the 4A team. So I want to kind of focus more on the 4A boys that are still playing. But your final top 10, TMI number 1, Shirts John Paul II, number 2, Bernie at number 3, Central Catholic at 4, Fredericksburg at 5, Pleasanton at 6. Lavernia 7, San Antonio Christian at 8, Somerset at 9, and Canyon Lake at 10. So the only ones that are not, so the top 4, 3 of them were the TAPS teams. Bernie would be your number 1 ranked as far as public schools here for that, followed up by Fredericksburg and Pleasanton. So talk about your final thoughts on the 4A boys before we hit the second season of 2021.
Well, congratulations to TMI. They won another state title. So, so they had another great season. So they got the top spot. But like I mentioned, Bernie's a favorite, which we'll talk about more on Wednesday. They're the favorite for Region 4 for 4A. So maybe they can match TMI, and we'll see. Maybe there might be a switch depending who Bernie beats. And then, like I said, going back to Shirts John Paul II, they lost a heartbreaker in the final, and Central Catholic was eliminated in the semifinals. And then you do have Fredericksburg in the playoffs. I think they could make a good run too. We could see a showdown between them and Bernie. Pleasanton in the playoffs, same thing with Lavernia. San Antonio Christian, their season's over for TAPS, and then we have Somerset and Canyon Lake also. See if they can make a run also go deep in the playoffs this in the next few weeks.
So moving over to the ladies, the 4A girls, Church John Paul II, Antonian as second, Bernie third, Bernie Geneva 4th, Uvalde 5th, Lavernia 6th, Fredericksburg 7th, Canyon Lake, Pleasanton, and rounding out Somerset. So to me, like I said, Church John Paul, first and second in both the boys and the girls. You got Bernie, as the top public school. on the girls' side with Uvalde and Lavernia nipping at their heels at 5 and 6 for that here. So thoughts on the 4A ladies?
Well, Shirts, John Paul, the ladies, they fell also in the final. They had a heartbreaker 1-0 loss. Antonia did lose, I think in the fourth round of the playoffs. I think St. Ursuline took the TAPS trophy for the 6A. Bernie girls, they're also the favorite for 4A public. Like I said, with the public schools, I know they made a run a couple years ago. I think they'll be my favorite to win Region 4. But you also have other contenders like Uvalde, Lavernia, Fredericksburg. I mean, they're in the same district with Bernie. Same thing with Canyon Lake. So they could have some good runs. And then you have other some new teams like Pleasanton and Somerset coming into the top 10. Like I said, they'll be entering the playoffs, which we'll discuss more on Wednesday.
Moving over to, we're going to stay with the ladies and do 5A girls here. Bernie champion number 1 is going to finish the year as Rafa's top-ranked team. Jefferson, number 2, Southwest, 3, Alamo Heights, 4, New Braunfels Canyon, Medina Valley, Burbank, Harlandale, Breckenridge, and Edison rounds out your top 10. And as Rafa mentioned, on Wednesday we're going to have Coach Canoe come on, and we're going to try to go over the playoff brackets from 4A, 5A, 6A, and kind of give a good detailed of what we think will happen, as well as we're trying to see if we can recruit some other high school soccer sites in the state of Texas to come on. But for the 5A girls, thoughts on the rankings here?
Well, Bernie surged up to the top spot. Like I said, they had a little slow start, but they finished strong. Kudos to the Jefferson girls. Like I said, they went undefeated in district play. Southwest, they've won their district championship. Alamo Heights faltered just a little bit, but like I said, I think they'll bounce back. Same thing with New Braunfels Canyon. Medina Valley, like I said, they made also a strong surge, finishing second in their district. Same thing with Burbank. Like I said, Burbank, Harlandale finished third in their district. Breckenridge was third, and also Edison was fourth. So those are all the teams. Most of the 4A teams. Most of the 5A girls teams. They're going to be representing San Antonio, the San Antonio area for the playoffs. As far as, like I said, predictions, like I mentioned, we're going to talk about that Wednesday. But you have some contenders here. Like you said, you're looking at Bernie Champion, Jeff, Southwest, Alamo Heights, Braunfels Canyon. I think they could go make deep runs into the playoffs. So, like I said, we'll discuss that more on Wednesday with those matchups.
Moving over to the boys, my team, Southwest, who we'll talk about this on Wednesday, but already the chatter is second round. They face a tough match, for that here. Lanier at number 2, New Braunfels Canyon number 3, Alamo Heights, who could be the possible second round player opponent for Southwest. Bernie Champion, Edison, Jefferson, Harlandale, Breckenridge, and Medina Valley round out the top 10 for that here. So thoughts on the 5A boys?
Well, Southwest, they went wire to wire on number 1, but now the record's starting this Thursday 0-0. You either win or you go home, and we'll see how far they'll go into it. Like I said, there could be a second round showdown with Alamo Heights or even Georgetown Eastview, which I know sure we'll get more into details with that. But I do want to send a congratulations to the Lanier boys. Mm-hmm. They won their district championship for the first time since 1985.
Oh, nice!
So congratulations to them. For the hard work, to the coaches. Yeah, hard work. Hard work. All the hard work they do paid off. Braunfels Canyon finished strong. Like I said, they got the second seed in their district. Alamo Heights finished the third seed. They got a tough first round matchup, which we'll discuss. Bernie Champion was able to get that last spot for the playoffs. Edison, bouncing off, not winning any non-district games. They finished in second place in the district. So kudos to them. Jefferson, that'll be another sleeper team. They finished third in their district. Then we have Harlandale. I think they were runner up to Southwest, and then you have Breckenridge that got the final spot, playoff spot for 27 6A, and then Medina Valley, another one. They got the third. I think they got their fourth spot for the playoffs coming up. So contenders, you got a couple of contenders here, but we've already kind of been looking a little bit at some of the brackets. Some teams are gonna have it rough.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have to bring their A game. Either you're a contender or just a pretender. So, we'll discuss more of that, like I said, on Wednesday.
So 6A boys, Clemens, still number one, followed by Lee, Harlan, Smithson Valley, Reagan, Churchill, Warren, Johnson, O'Connor, and New Braunfels. And to me, the top 6, and you could probably even toss Warren into there, but to me, the top 6, are going to be tough to beat in the playoffs, when it comes to that. But your thoughts on the rankings, where you can probably see the 3 division winners, or division winners because of no losses, but looking at the teams nipping on their heels, there's not a huge difference in records.
No, like I said, Clemens, they finished undefeated, not only in the regular season but also in district play. They could end up playing the number 2 team in the third round of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I know me and you have discussed as far as playoff bracketing, that could be kind of considered the group of death.
Path. We were looking at that one. Yeah,
the group of death path to the regional tournament. Harlan, great season for them. I know they played a warm-up game with Reagan, which I'm going to talk about Reagan in a bit. They lost to them 1-0, but I think they have a really good chance of getting to that regional tournament. They're on the kind of like they're going to go through the valley, the Laredo Valley section of the tournament. Simpson Valley is another contender. They're going to go up against Churchill. So you got a 4 and 6 going up against each other. Reagan, they're peaking at the right time. They were struggling in the beginning, and all of a sudden they've turned on the Jets. Don't fall asleep with this team. I think they're a very dangerous team. And whoever they're playing in the first round and even the second round, you need to look out for them. And I wouldn't be surprised if Reagan can get to the third or even in the fourth round. Churchill, same thing with them. And like I said, I know they had a tough last couple games, but I think they're battle tested. I think they can give a run on the money for any of those teams in District 25 or 26A up in the Austin area. Warren finished runner-up. So I think I said that. I think they have a good shot coming out from that valley bracket. Johnson, I think they're actually going to go up against I think Clemens in the first round. So they got a tall task for that, but that doesn't mean they can't win that game. O'Connor, I think they finished 4th in their district, and I think they got a showdown with Laredo United, who was co-shared the district title for 36A, and then you have New Braunfels, coming in. I think they're going to go up against. I think they have Reagan on the first round. So, like you mentioned, we got about 5 or 6, 7 teams that we could at least see in the regional.
Going deep.
Yeah, going deep.
And there's always a few surprises, as we've seen in the NCAA basketball tournament this week. There's always going to be a few surprises that pop up that nobody is on anybody's radar.
Yeah, we could have that Abilene Christian.
I think they went down today, but Oral Roberts, still going strong up in Tulsa. 6A girls, you got Smithson Valley, finished the year number 1. Reagan, Brennan, Clark, Steele, O'Connor, Madison, Taft, Clemens, and Johnson round out the top 10 there. So talk to me, and we've talked about the 6A girls has been very, very deep with the talent, very deep with the fluctuation on the rankings. So, and I think that kind of shows on the records where, you can see some really good teams, but there are some teams that unfortunately, do have some, battle tested scars, we'll just say here. So how are the, San Antonio area 6A girls looking heading into the playoffs?
I think all 10 teams could do some damage. And that just shows how much talent we have here in San Antonio when it comes to high school soccer. With Brennan, O'Connor, and Taft going through the Valley, the San Laredo Valley brackets, we could see one or both get into the regional semifinals and face, having all San Antonio Final Four for the region. Like I said, like I said, I can see Brennan making that run. We may see an O'Connor Taft third round game. Some of the brackets on there. Swinson Valley, like I said, I think they have a shot, winning it. I know the favorite for Region 4 is Lake Travis up from Austin, but they haven't. I don't know if they're battle tested as these teams are, because a lot of these districts were just basically a playoff game each game. So we have a lot of favorites here, but we can see Reagan going into the regional finals, Clark, Steele, Clemens, Madison. So it's going to be open, and like I said, it's like with the NCAA tournament. Can't count your chickens. But we may see some surprises by the time we get to the Region 4 Final Four.
And on Wednesday, as Rafa's mentioned, we're going to host a kind of bracketology for the UIL soccer for both the men, or for the girls and the boys, 4A, 5A, 6A. It'll probably start around 7. We're still trying to get one more commitment, maybe 2, to join on that. But once the final brackets are released, we're going to try to go through and talk about not only the San Antonio side here, but like I said, here between Rafa, Coach Canoe, and hopefully with 1 or 2 more guests here, we'll be able to cover the state and say, hey, these are the teams to kind of watch out for. I know Rafa's got a lot of experience down in South Texas here for that here, but I'm looking forward to it, to be able to kind of say, okay, hey, this section here, who's the team to beat, who's coming out, and who's going home disappointed here. So please keep that in mind, for Wednesday here. Like I said here, I know me and Rafa, did kind of go through the brackets unofficially, and you can see some nice matchups that are going to be developing. Any final thoughts on the high schools, Rafa, before we move to the Royce segment with I think the whiteboard makes a return finally, to the podcast?
I just want to, like I said, wish all the teams in the playoffs good luck, and hopefully we have some state champions bringing back the gold, back to San Antonio where it belongs, I know we got one with TMI, but I think we need some from the 6A, 5A, 4A, and I think we have some teams that can, I know the Dallas teams get all the hoopla that they're unbeatable, but I think we have the talent here to beat some of those teams up there to bring back the state championship. So playoffs start Thursday. I know there were some Thursday games, so if you have a chance, check them out. I think there's one game. I think Lee was playing Thursday night. I think for their opener for the boys, so their opener. So cheer them on. Let's go cheer them on if you have a chance to see some of these games.
So we're turning to the SAFC side here, which we're going to welcome back Royce here. Appreciate you hanging on here. San Antonio FC, in my opinion, finally released the schedule here. And they came out with a surprise, the best little cup in Texas, La Copetita. It's going to be a round robin with SAFC, FC Dallas, Austin FC, and the Houston Dynamo. What makes this kind of unique? We don't play Houston. Instead, we play FC Dallas twice, for that here. So we played North Texas on March 20th, which we'll get to next. March 27th. So this weekend here, FC Dallas will make the return trip down, and we'll play at Toyota Field. And all of these matches, unfortunately, are closed door. The following week, they'll go up to Toyota Stadium. And then the one where I'm probably a little bit discouraged that it's closed door, but they're going to be traveling to Austin FC on April 10th before they come home to face RGV in the final tune-up. At this point, SAFC has not announced any fans will be able to attend. I know normally there's one for the season ticket members, but that has not been announced as of yet. So, Royce, thoughts on the preseason schedule?
I think it's pretty exciting. Pretty cool, obviously, to play predominantly MLS teams. That's pretty cool. Obviously, Austin makes that definitely a possibility now. But unfortunately, we are not going to play the Dynamo because of a scheduling conflict. But as weird as it sounds, the winner of the Copita is going to has the best standings, and is OKC Energy is going to play the Dynamo.
Play one of the spots.
And that result, whatever happens in that result, those points get added to SAFC in the standings. So, which
OKC has played Austin and Dallas, and let's just say it wasn't close.
I heard Frank Lopez, our buddy Frankie. I
didn't know he was back with, but yeah, he scored a hell of a free kick on the Energies. They showed the goal for it here. It was an awesome free kick.
Glad he's in the East. Yep. Good on you, Frankie. Glad you're in the East.
But the Energy, at least their first two, their trip to Texas, was once again not very successful, which I'm not losing sleep on. They're from
always.
Exactly. It's by the way, it's 7:41 and Oklahoma still sucks. So there you go. There you go, fans. Yeah, I mean it's exciting. It's cool that they have this organization back. Previous years there was always a tournament here, a tournament there. I remember we went to a tournament in Phoenix. They always have tournaments in Florida. It's cool to see this. We can stay in Texas, and then everybody in Texas plays each other, which is I support it. It's great. Hopefully at some point we can have fans in the stands, maybe next year, which would make it even more just great. Let's go with great.
I think you're seeing a trend, though, at least for this year, that, and this isn't just MLS, this is MLS and USL. A lot of the friendlies are closed door, and I was listening to, I think it was,
we're seriously, COVID. Yeah, everything's going to be regionalized, and it's going to be closed doors because there's still a big risk out there. Yeah.
Well, no, I think part of it had to do with like Third Degree podcast up in Dallas was talking about why teams don't show it. So it's one thing being closed doors, but then it's another thing to stream it for the fans. They were talking about the cost to stream it, even if it's, 2 or 3, cameras, the staff, along those lines there. From a turnways, obviously you and I are turning in, but how many people are actually turning in to make it worthwhile for that here?
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's the cost of streaming. I mean, there's Periscope, there's Facebook Live. You can do that for super cheap. The reason you don't stream it, 2 big reasons. Number one's a legal reason. You have a lot of trialists out there that aren't under contract, and if something happens to them, there's that tape, there all that. And also if that trialist is trying out for that team, but they also may want to try out for another team. If that doesn't work, it also goes against them. And I'm sure the trialist's agents don't want that footage
getting the tape out there. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of legal reasons why you don't film those, why only at the very end of preseason you actually have, fans in, and that's when your roster is pretty much set. It's the last one. And if you notice, there's 2 weeks between the last Copita competition and RGV game, and who knows when opening day is going to be, because that hasn't been announced, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't been announced because they don't know when it's going to be.
They have announced that it's between April 24th and May 1st, and I think SAFC's mentioned May 1st is the first game. Now the question is it home or away? But yeah, would think that. Plus,
I thought it was April 24th all the way until like May 15th or something like that was the range that they were working with.
yeah, but San Antonio's put out multiple tweets targeting that May 1st date.
Okay.
The other issue is if the Open Cup is played, which I want to say they have to come up this next week saying whether it's going to be played or not.
Right.
Is that first game is scheduled that May 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere around there. So,
yikes.
We could theoretically have a game on Saturday, May 1st, and then turn around and have a second game midweek the following week.
Yeah.
Question is fans or not. I have to think there will be some fans just because,
right.
COVID's not gone despite some leadership in the state, but
we'll talk about that. Yeah.
But I do think you're going to let people in.
Don't let it bog you down. Keep going. Keep going. Soccer. Let's go.
I
know.
That's enough news on that before we get sidetracked here. We did have a win over North Texas 3-1. According to the SAFC communications team, goals from Wright and Epps, which they showed. They teased the Torres kick, but
distance.
We have no idea because they won't show it.
It's a secret weapon, man. It's a secret weapon. You only show it off when you go to war. That's it.
So, but they did come out with the starting 11. Goalkeeper Carlos Mercado started. Defender Ethan Bryant. Defender Axel Schoesberg. Liam Doyle and Rocky Perez, who is is a SAFC Pro Academy player. Midfield Epps, PC, Lindley, Emil Suelo. And then up front, Justin Dillon, Santiago Patino here. Substitutes used, Leo Torres, Brad Dilly, also a Pro Academy player. Lima, Ollie Wright, Matthew Cardoni, Fabrizio Bernal, Roman Holt, Abraham Lincoln. The last three are Pro Academy players. And, of course, Trialist 1 and Trialist 2. You looked good out there for here as far as our knowledge here. So we're going to start with you, Rafa. Your thoughts on the lineup?
I'm sure that's probably maybe three forwards, the actual starting 11. I don't think Mercado's going to be starting in the keep. That'll be the beard. The surprise is Bryant playing defense.
I think that's going to be his position too, though.
Which I think he might be the Lucas Vasquez of SAFC, since they have Vasquez playing up and on the wing as a defender. Which for him, maybe that was the position they were grooming him over there in Belgium, and being a soccer player, you should be able to play any position out there. So I'm sure Coach Marcina saw something and said, "Hey, let's try him out here, and we'll see what he does in the preseason, and if he came out successful for these games, we may be starting seeing him in the starting 11. But I still think we need to make a couple of signings for the defensive side for added depth, because you never know."
Well, they've hinted that they're going to bring in more depth, but it's a matter of waiting for trials to play out, waiting for MLS to make their cuts and along those lines. So there is more depth coming, but and maybe Royce can go into this a little bit more, but I think with the depth at midfield, moving him back to the fullback side for that here, at least in my opinion, would give him more of an opportunity to play, even if they do bring in some players to be able to play multiple roles in Alan Marcina's system is going to be pivotal, I think, for him. Your thoughts on that, Royce?
Where do I begin? So first of all, with Ethan, if you watch his tape, if you watch his videos, mainly the ridiculous goal that he scored a couple years ago for SAFC, where there's a cross, he hits one-time volley, sliding, hits the crossbar. That was right-footed. If you remember the great assist he had to Cesar Elizondo, by the way, Cesar, we miss you. Hope you're doing well. The great assist he had when everybody really started paying attention to him. That was a right-footed distribution that found Caesar in all sorts of space to score. Ethan Bryant seems to be very right-footed, so I'm very confident that he's playing right back, which is fine because we have a good left back in Connor Maloney who can do both. I will say, Connor Maloney, hope you're all right. I haven't heard from him. Didn't see him on the field. Obviously, no cameras. You don't know if he's just there. But I mean, I hope he's all right. I would have expected him to have started on the left instead of Rocky Perez, but I'm sure Bettis
the first game.
Exactly, it's the first game. I'm sure him getting some game notice. So let's go to the board. Let's bring out the whiteboard. So now the first thing that I've drawn here. See if I can get my way around here. This is last year's formation, and it is a 3-5-2, or the wingbacks can go back for a 5-3-2. Now the only difference between this formation from last year and the formation this year is that this center back is now the 6. So they're just part of the midfield. So that guy moved up. This is PC. And that's the big difference there. And if you remember last season, the big downfall against New Mexico United was that everybody pressed up. Nobody was in. There was a huge hole in the midfield, and then you had the back line, and then PC have to cover that. Well, I'm guessing Alan Marcina saw that. He realizes the mistake. So now he's adding more numbers in the midfield, and you have these 2 giant center backs. And if it's a good center back pairing, you don't need 3. And you're supposed to have 2 quick wing backs come back and forth. So I think that's the thought for Alan Marcina was, instead of this center back that's here and we just have a line of 3, bring that guy to be your 6 so you're more stout in midfield, which, like I said, was a really big issue against New Mexico United. Also, this is a very high pressing formation. Another thing that this formation does is that the 2 forwards are normally pretty spread out. And with 2 spread out forwards, what you're going to get is a lot of one-on-ones with defenders. So I think this formation is really, really in tune for a Jose Gallegos dribbling against, or possibly Leo Torres dribbling against if Cuello and Torres come up and Justin Dillon and Patino aren't on together.
So who do you think's playing in the top 3? I'm assuming Lindley, Emil, and Epps. Where do you see them playing right now?
So right now, let me get a good pointer.
I'm assuming Emil's in the 10 spot.
Well, you know what? I have it written on the back. So right now, the light blue is the starting lineup. So you had Dillon and Patino up top with Cuello as the 10 in the middle. Then you had Epps as the left-sided number 8. You had Lindley as a right-sided number 8. And this is where your goals came from, was here with these guys coming up and pressing and getting free. And also Lindley came off for right. Wright also had a goal, so you had another goal from here. And then obviously PC as the 6, because PC is the man and he's the destroyer of all worlds. Then you had Perez and Diddley up here as the left back. You had Ethan Bryant, who doesn't seem like he came off at all. Looks like he played all 3. Maybe a trialist came on possibly. And I'm pretty sure Holt is a center back, and I know Bernal. I'm pretty sure Bernal was a center back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they came on, and I erased that with my hand, but that's Mercado and Cardoni down here.
Yeah, goalie we know.
Right. So that's kind of how that lined up. Who knows where the trialists were? Could have been forwards. One of them could have been that kid from Brazil. Who knows? But this is kind of – and then on the third period, Cuello came off for Torres, and Torres that wonderful strike from about 25 yards, which is about right there on the arch. So
you can actually see how they can – switch it up to a 4-3-3 on the attack.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what it lines up is Cuello can come up and you can get a solid 4-3-3 and a pressing 4-3-3. Just think Liverpool. They have a very high pressing 4-3-3, and that's what's made them successful. And that was, like I said, that was one of the bigger downfalls with last season and just toward the end was that you had too much attacking forward, you had not enough in the midfield, and then you had your defense in a big hole. And what the 4-4-2 diamond really does is it takes care of that because you're strong in the midfield. And that's what Marcino wants, is strong in the midfield. It leaves you open a little bit on the wings, but we really didn't see a lot of attacking against our wings. It was mostly right in the middle. They'd take the ball away from either Pirano or Gallegos, and they go straight forward into PC. So now we're just going to be strong in the middle. Let them cross. By the way, let them cross as much as they want because we have
The two giants. Yeah.
6'5" back there. We're fine. So,
But Royce, do you see maybe like with Ethan and also with Connor, with going up on the wings,
yeah,
and setting
for
crosses.
sure. A big
That's something we lacked last year. Is
Yeah.
more outside
Lot of
defense
interplay.
going into the attack.
Yeah. The 4-4-2 diamond definitely does that. It picks a lot of triangles and a lot of places all over the place. So it's made to have give and goes out here on the wing with so out here is going to be Lindley and you're going to have Ethan Bryant and they're going to interplay and then come up here to the forward. Same thing out here is it just gives you a good interplay and these guys can overlap all they want back and forth. These guys can switch and overlap. That's really what it does with the 3-5-2 of last year. That really didn't afford that because this guy just had to stay here the whole time. There's very little changing, very little. There's some giving and going. I mean, you saw Blake Smith getting forward a lot, but it's kind of difficult to do that. But at the same rate, this really does give a lot of room to switch here because if this guy comes out and he comes out wide, well, you still have three in the middle. So even if you lose one, you still have three in the middle. On the other side, even if you lose one, you still got three in the middle. So it's strength in the midfield, and that's what seems like that's what Marcina really is going to it's what he's implementing and what he's really bringing forward and professing this season is strong in the middle, which that is one thing. I remember we were at a certain Christmas party in SAFC, and I said, I want us to be very strong in the middle, unlike other teams. And he walked away, but he agreed and he shook his head. So, strong in the middle. Yeah.
Rafa, your thoughts on the lineup and the possible changes for this year? And it's one game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Next game could be
Grain of
totally
salt.
different,
One
and
game.
we got to have a whole, wipe it all through and redo a new one. But it's one game.
I think with this game, it was more looking at maybe your players, your bench players, your depth, see how they react. Give them just in case if someone does go down, how would they react being in the starting lineup. Plus, you also want to see your new players that you brought in, how they starting to get them a little familiar what they're as far as what type of things they do in the field. What they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. So normally, I think like the players that came from last year, I think we're pretty much settled there. I think we already know what we can do, what they can do on the field. I think it's getting the players that we just recently signed, get them accustomed to the system and so forth. I think they need more of the gelling, and I'm sure by the second to last game, you'll start to see the actual starting 11 take shape, and then that final game you'll see, say probably what we're going to see on the opener against whoever we play with. But like I said, it's a good good way to evaluate what you have, and then we'll see if we do have to bring in some players, like I mentioned, Marcina mentioned, we might bring in some players probably after the MLS cutoff. Who's available out there to bring in, see who can make our team a lot better or make our bench a lot better. So, it's patience. I know a lot of people are like, "Wow, I want to see so and so on the field." You got to have patience.
Harry, it's patience. Yeah.
Hey, the preseason schedule came out. I'm all right. I'm good. I'm now moving on to USL, and hey, where's the schedule? USL, not SAFC. Come on.
There you go.
I'm not the one that's clamoring and for Preston and Luis to release another Beyond the Stripes. That was you today, buddy. And then our old friend Jonathan Check.
I was lobbing the softball. It's 1 week since the release, and typically they hit the pitch. Here you go. It's not Behind the Stripes. That's the podcast. It's Inside SAFC. But
no, it's Beyond the Stripes.
This time. Behind the Stripes is the podcast. Inside SAFC is the documentary they do.
Well, I want the podcast back too.
Okay. Yeah, that too. Yeah, that'd be nice. We gotta,
because that's where you got the cool stories, like was it Michael Hood's story, and you got a little bit more of the background of the players, and then of course
Steve McCarthy's remains. Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I enjoy. I enjoy that the production value and stuff. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. But give me the stories about the players. That 100%. Way we can learn a little bit more about them.
Exactly, and we can get to know the new players, which would be great because there seems like some fantastic personalities in the locker room again, which they always get high character guys, and it'd be great to hear from them and get to learn about them.
So final thoughts is going to be about a certain match coming up on March 24th. USA U23s versus Mexico U23s. To me, it's a pretty big match. Just anytime you play Mexico, I think Mexico would be the favorite. I think going in for it here, I think they were the favorite going in. However, the United States has not yielded a goal. Thankfully to David Ochoa in the first game, because there were some big gaffes that first game.
Yeah.
Second
USL
game
championship champion David Ochoa. Yeah.
So thoughts on Mexico versus USA? We'll start with you, Rafa. How because I know you have some ties to Mexico with your team. And listening to the broadcast, I guess this is a very heavy laden Liga MX team. For that here. Thoughts on how the U.S. and Mexico shapes up, and whether the U.S. has an opportunity to get the W to move forward.
They better take care of our Cordova, our sniper from Club America, because he's been on a tear. He had a hat trick on the last game. So I haven't seen anybody, even in Liga MX, he's been giving them a lot of he gave Chivas fits in that game. I think what they're saying, a lot of from the commentators from, I know it was FS1 and some of the Spanish ones, they say this team might be more talented than the team that won the gold medal against Brazil.
For the Olympics or?
For the Olympics. And even also the sub-23 team, which is shocking because that was a team with Vela, Guzman, and Gio. So they have high hopes for this team, and it's going to be a great game. We'll see how this goes, but I think in the end, I do see Mexico and the U.S. advancing to the Olympics. I think those are your two favorites. Looking at the other teams,
Canada drew today, which hurt them. Honduras and El Salvador, 25th minute, still 0-0. I think
talent is just there's a big gap between the U.S., Mexico, and the rest of CONCACAF. So,
Costa Rica's up there, but not quite. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a big gap right now. But it's going to be a fun game, and I think Mexico will win this probably 2-1.
Your thoughts, Royce, on U.S. Mexico, and then obviously they're both going to advance. To it, just because there's only one game left. But also possibly facing again next not this Sunday, but next Sunday, I believe is what it is. The 31st would be. So the 31st would be So then the April 4th, I believe, would be the final. I think I heard is for here. So they'll play the 24th, and then they'll play again on.
I think the 31st.
Or actually, no, maybe that's wrong. That's the Summer Olympics. It's threw me off here. So, but it's supposedly this weekend, early next week, they'll be knocking this out.
Right. So, not to disappoint anybody, but the U.S. and Mexico game is not going to be full of starters. It's going to be a lot of backup kids. They just played 2 games in 5 or 6 days. They're going to play another game, and they got another game a week or so after that. It's going to be backups. They're going to be protecting themselves because it doesn't matter. The game, I mean, it matters, and it's Mexico versus U.S. It's a pride.
It doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter in the tournament because you still go to the semifinal, and whoever you play, you have to win that, because just getting to the semifinal, you don't qualify. You have to win that semifinal, and when you do, then the top 2 teams advance, and whoever plays in the final. That's for seeding. But
Yeah,
the
this
important game is the semifinal game, not the Mexico versus U.S. So you're not going to see the top teams, the top lineups for both teams.
yeah. So, and I think this is where it gives you a weight. So they play the 24th, then the following day, the 25th.
The other team.
Group B finishes up. Then on the 28th, so Sunday, they'll play the semifinals.
Mhm.
And basically, you win, you're in the Olympics. You
Correct.
lose, you go home. It's
Correct.
as simple as that. So that would be the big week to have your guns. And like I said here,
So you're going to rest your top players for Sunday, not for.
And how you kind of know they kind of make a mockery of it a little bit. They put the final on Tuesday. So 2 days after the semifinals.
It's not a mockery. It's scheduling because you have to compact everything so much because everything was supposed to happen last year and it obviously couldn't. So everything's a time crunch. I mean,
people weekend too, I think.
Well, the reason why I say a mockery is because you're going to get your best teams on that Sunday. The final is probably going to be another heavily rotated lineup because obviously all the money's in those games on Sunday to be able to get to the Olympics. Because would it be nice to win the CONCACAF region? Sure, but as long as you're in that final, that's really all that matters.
You're going to Japan, or Tokyo.
So, but I know that's our final thoughts. But any other final thoughts that either of the two of you have?
Go ahead,
Royce. There's something that we should say, but all I'm thinking of is SAFC right now. I'm excited for this weekend, and we'll see if there's any new signings pretty soon. We'll see what happens with that. I guess the one thing we should say is it's really disappointing to see what happened at the convention center with the women's workout room and the weight room.
What about the gift bags?
Everything. I mean, the meals. Do you see the meals? They're just like they're not even frozen TV dinners. Like it's disappointing, and it's all on NCAA. The city should have stepped up and said something when they saw it, but it's not really in their jurisdiction. It's really on the NCAA. I mean, the organization makes billions of dollars, and you're going to do that to your top athletes. And they're amateurs. It shouldn't matter what revenue they bring in. They're all amateurs. They don't make any money. So it shouldn't. Everybody should.
They get an education, Royce.
Do what?
They get an education, Royce.
That's what I mean. That's what they get. That everybody should be equal. Everybody should get the same.
I know. I'm
amateurs. I know, but it's just disappointing. NCAA, step your game up. It's
slap in the face.
It's gross. It's gross. I'm mad because I'm in San Antonio, and a lot of these kids that are here to have at the time of their lives, they qualified. They're one of what's the basketball roster? 15. There's 64 teams in, so that's 20. That's 620 kids.
Plus staff and
their experience, their experience from this whole thing is going to be. It's more than 620. I did the math wrong. It's like 920. But those kids' memory from San Antonio is going to be that. Like you want you want them to go down the Riverwalk if they can and experience the city and have a good time, and that's their experience, and that makes me mad. And I'm really sorry to those kids, and we hope that's not your experience from San Antonio. We hope that's not what you take away from this, because that's not what we're all about. Rafa?
I agree with that. We should, I guess, show a lot better hospitality, because that's what San Antonio is. We're probably the best hospitality town in the U.S. So and like I said, I do blame the NCAA on that. And they need to know better than that. To see a bunch of dumbbells is there, like, come on.
That's just like a dumbbell set you could have got at a garage sale and just taken it there. Like,
not doing let them reserve a Planet Fitness for them instead. If you didn't have space, hey, reach out to Planet Fitness. Say, hey, can we have some of our teams practice? Work out here, or Gold's Gym. There's plenty of them here in San Antonio. They could have done that.
Yeah.
If there was no space, so they got to think out of the box. So Shimon on that. And then I guess my final thing, just to say good luck to all those teams. Congratulations to all the teams that made it to the playoffs, won district. Can't wait for Wednesday. Wednesday's going to be fun. I'm be excited like DKV. Yeah,
baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
I get to be Chris Fowler. Hey, what about this? And then just sit back and watch the fireworks.
We'll see who's a pretender, who's the contender, and hopefully, like I said, I hopefully do get to see somebody lift that trophy. Right on the 17th of April. Bring them back to San Antonio because I'm already tired of Dallas winning all the trophies. Like I think it's especially like on the football side.
Paso's won a couple too. So let's not forget about that.
Yeah, but mostly lately it's been all Dallas or some Houston. But like I said, hopefully I know one team is out for redemption, and don't take them lightly. And I can see them lifting the trophy. But like I said, there's quite a few other ones that can do the same thing. So we'll see who's our Oral Roberts this year as well.
Who's the Cinderella? I got one last thought. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Good luck to Jose Gallegos in Munich right now. I've reached out to all the channels that I know to try to contact about any news on the situation. I haven't heard anything, but best of luck. We're excited. We're excited for you. Show them what we're all about, man.
Real stars. Listen for Harry.
So my final thought is, as much as we get on, Luis and Preston and the social media team here, they really do a great job, for that here. They're trying to keep us in the loop as much as they can. I'm assuming if they had it their way, the information would be a little bit more easier. So just keep in mind with preseason here, it's becoming more of a trend. As Royce mentioned here, that closed door, limited information. It's not just us. It's NISA teams, it's USL teams, it's MLS teams. Along this isn't the English Premier League where everything's opened up and they tour, different countries and bring in the fans to see it. For that here. So just keep that in mind. I know I'm probably, battle that line a little bit here, but I do always try to give, Preston and Luis and the SA communications team, kudos on there just for the fact that I do know that they do work hard. I do know that they listen, and I do know that they pay attention to what's going on as well. So if you don't think that they're not seeing what's on there, you would be wrong. So just keep that in mind when you're posting stuff, especially at this time of year. It gets a little frustrating being this close and yet still having a little bit of information, for it here. So just, just kind of, reach out to them, give them encouragement. Please, communicate, respond, like, tweet, for that here, engage with that, because that, you may not know this, but the league looks at communications. There is, I think, in the new CBA, or not the CBA, in the new agreement with USL, engagement, fan attendance does come into how much money that that San Antonio FC can make this year from them in the new agreement from the Papadakis. The more engaged teams may get a little bit more bump. Of course, we don't know the details and for that here, but that's been reported. I want to say that was 1 second here. The Athletic reported that. So please, it's time to get back involved. Most likely, we will be, in attendance at games. I don't know if it'll be a full stadium, half stadium, or what percentage full stadium. But I guarantee this year, especially come playoff times, barring something major changing, we're going to get back to normal, and hopefully fans will still turn out. Fans will engage, on the tweets and the stuff that Preston and them are turning out here. So that's my final thought for that here. Do appreciate everybody that's turned in. Please tune in on Wednesday if you can. Like I said here, Rafa and Coach Canoe are going to go over the brackets, and we are trying to see if we can get somebody from the Valley and also somebody from the Houston area. And we're trying to dig out a source up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Unfortunately, Scott, is not going to be able to do it because he hasn't been able to keep up due to the move and some other things that have popped up for out here. So I'm assuming next year he'll be our North Texas or our North Dallas, as I called it, unfortunately, for out here. So, but thank you for turning in, and like I said, hope everybody has a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Monday.